According to MLI Monk Senior Fellow Sean Speer, the surprising election of Donald Trump and the rise of populism in various other Western democracies is a salutary warning to Canadian policymakers. As we are beginning to see with the burgeoning Western separatist movement, the so-called Wexit, it cannot be assumed that Canada is immune to these same forces. But what are the causes of rising populism? What can policymakers do to make our politics more responsive to people to whom populism might appeal? Canadian politics must be more oriented to answer these questions if we are to avoid the populist disruption and polarization observed in other countries. In the Macdonald-Laurier Institute's first paper in its Real Jobs for Real People series, entitled Forgotten People and Forgotten Places, Canada's Economic Performance in the Age of Populism, Sean Speer seeks to answer these important questions. In order to do so, we must first learn from those places that have experienced populist surges. The lesson they teach us is that we cannot judge the health of our labor markets simply by examining the headline data. We need to drill down to discern who and where are at risk of falling behind. By going beyond the headline data on employment, labor force participation, income, and other key economic indicators, we may better understand where there may be economic challenges and who is most at risk of falling behind in the modern economy. Drilling down into the data can better inform the political debate and target policies for vulnerable populations and communities. So what does the paper find? While the overall economic picture is positive, certain people and certain communities are struggling. In particular, the paper shows that most of Canada's positive performance on jobs and wages in the past 2 decades or so had been driven by women with college or university educations. The relative performance of educated women has driven most of the overall labor market gains that Canada has made. That's great news, but it has obscured some troubling trends, particularly among men and women without college or university qualifications. The truth is that men and women without post-secondary qualifications have struggled across a wide range of economic indicators. One example, Canadians without college or university qualifications now earn, on average, 1/3 less than their more educated peers. The rise of the knowledge-based economy is only exacerbating this divide. The result is stagnant wages, declining opportunity, and a growing dependence on government transfers. These economic challenges are most acute for working-age men without post-secondary qualifications, whose job prospects outside of the oil-producing provinces have for some time resembled some of the poor prospects observed in parts of the United States. These people seem to be facing a large number of challenges that threaten their inclusion in broader job gains. These trends are hitting Canada's rural areas the hardest. Where you live is increasingly a major determinant of your economic success. Take, for example, rural employment levels, which are still down since the 2008-2009 recession, whereas employment in other parts of the country is up by 13%. But the biggest source of divergent outcomes may be educational attainment. While Canada performs well overall in this regard, it is easy to forget that approximately 36% of working-age Canadians, or 6.7 million of our fellow countrymen, aged 25 to 64, do not have a college or university qualification. That population is roughly equivalent in size to the populations of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta combined, and it's more than the population of the entire Greater Toronto Area. As has been observed in the United States and Europe, these people are the most vulnerable to precarious employment and are in turn the principal political supporters of populist politicians. Failing to address adequately the problems that face these Canadians could have harmful economic, political, and social consequences. Therefore, the lesson from elsewhere is that we should not and must not take these folks for granted. To stave off the kind of disruptive politics we have seen elsewhere, our policymakers must pay closer attention to the problems facing Canada's forgotten people and forgotten places. I'm Brian Lee Crowley for the Macdonald-Laurier Institute.